That's why we are going to explore today what are some of these tech and business trends that are shaping the future and that are asking for a different way of working, a different way of innovating, a different way of adding value to the customer. As I was presented by Paulo, I was the head of Tinder in Latin America, also the chief digital officer at L'Oreal. And although as soon as Tinder was mentioned, I know some of you lost focus and prefer to have Tinder tips rather than going down this subject, but still we'll stick to the plan and we'll talk about future trends. Let's move on and try to understand what are the new characteristics of the digital world that are shaping business nowadays. Because if we compare it to the pre-digital world, the world where Dow was born 125 years ago, well, definitely it had some very different characteristics. The digital world introduced 5 big novelties. First, we live in an interconnected world with strong network effects. It means we're constantly online. We're constantly digitizing our channels with companies. We're constantly using our smartphones, our computers. We live on the internet, especially in the next phase, looking at the metaverse. And this means that actually the number of variables at play for Dow increase a lot. Why? Because our customer is more and more complex, and our end consumer as well. Second big characteristic is that everything happens real time. There's no space anymore for like hyper planning or for procrastination. Of course, it's time of being agile, of adding value very, very quickly to the customer. They expect nothing less than that. The third characteristic is big data. Since we are online the whole time and our equipments are, our channels with customers are as well, we collect more data. And with more data, we can make better decisions on the way to go when we look at innovation and adding value to the customer. The fourth characteristic is exponentiality. When we look at the rate of change in all markets, considering the material science market as well, they change exponentially, not linearly anymore. When something changes linearly, it's easier to predict. You don't have to reinvent yourself very quickly. There's time lags. Well, when something changes exponentially, it means that the rate of change is faster and faster, and it's us who have to reinvent ourselves faster and faster. The implication is that when we look at the material science market, it changed more over the last 5 years than in the past 20 years, and it will change over the next 2-3 years more than it has ever changed. And the fifth and last characteristic of the digital world is AI. Artificial intelligence, this new technology that threatens to substitute some of our knowledge skills, some of the ways we think, we make decisions, because if we think that we're better professionals or leaders or commercial teams just because we have more knowledge, we remember better things, we have a higher IQ, we're smarter overall, we'll have a problem, which is technology does all of this much better than us. And so when we put together these 5 big characteristics, they reshape power dynamics across all markets. Let's look to another market, not exactly the material science one, but the automotive market and how it has changed over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, you would look at the car making industry, and basically the players were all the same. There was no innovation happening anymore. Nobody would risk launching a new car maker. And who was losing was the end consumer. And then this guy came, Elon Musk. And Elon Musk looked at this market and said, there's many things we need to change. We need to be more customer-centric. And he launched Tesla with a new value proposition across these 5 new pillars of the digital world. What he did a hyper-connected car that is basically a computer on 4 wheels that metrifies everything that the driver does. It's 100% sustainable because it's electric. It's directly sold to the consumer. They don't sell through car dealerships and so on. He reshaped the whole industry thanks to digital and thanks to leadership, right? A leadership that thought differently about how we can use digital to add value to the customer. And eventually, in June 2021, became the biggest car making in terms of market value and basically outpaced Toyota and all the other big car-making companies. And so basically the question is, so now what, Toyota? Are you going to reinvent yourself as well? What are you going to do? And so this is the question that we have to ask ourselves, especially when we're market leaders, such as Dow. How can we focus more on the customer and always be responsive to their new expectations and improve experience and efficiency